Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off talking about the new Super Mario RPG headed to the Switch, I believe on November 17th. Anyways, here apparently the game has already leaked on the internet. So if you are interested in this game, if you haven't played it before, at least the original one, and you wanted to avoid spoilers, you may want to be on high alert. Moving on, and we're talking about the ship of Harkinian. And for those who may be unaware, the ship of Harkinian is an unofficial source port of Ocarina of Time. And To Ship to Harkinian is an unofficial source port of Majora's Mask. And they say here they have 100% matched Majora's Mask decomp. The port is still months out, and they say here they still need time to dedicate to development efforts. This is obviously a pretty big accomplishment and something I'm closely paying attention to. Next up here, we're quickly talking about the Sega Mega Drive Genesis, and this is incredibly impressive. Someone here has Marvel superheroes up and running on that system, and this game did not release for the system. Arguably, it's pushing the Genesis to the max here, but the results are very awesome. I'll drop a link to this tweet in the description below and feel free to check it out. Next up, we're talking about a prototype for the SNES that never saw the light of day. Kevin Edwards says in late 1991 they started work on an SNES prototype for the Incredible Crash Dummies. It never entered production, and they were the only full-time person on the project for 1 to 2 months. The project was canned, but they still have the code, which they decided to dig up and get up and running. Now, it's worth pointing out the prototype that was just shown is completely different from this game here, which is also called the Incredible Crash Dummies and was also released for the SNES. Apparently, it wasn't uncommon for multiple studios to start to develop a game and compete for the rights to it. Moving on, and I've got another quick one for you. Apparently, there's a PC port of Crash Team Racing in the works. It's still extremely early on here, but at the same time, if you are curious about it, I'll drop a link to a very helpful YouTube video in the description below. At this point in time, there's no release date just yet, but the game does appear to be booting, which means progress is being made. Next up, we're talking about KeeperFX, an open source remake and fan expansion of Dungeon Keeper, and version 1.0.0 was just released. So this is arguably a pretty big release for KeeperFX. I mean, they've got new map textures, improved multiplayer stability, higher frame rates, they fixed crashing when playing in 4K resolution, and all remaining legacy functionality from the Dungeon Keeper executable has been moved to KeeperFX. This means they are no longer limited by the original game and what they can change. If you are curious about this one, it's free, it's open source, and I'll drop a link to it in the description below. Feel free to check it out. Next up here, we're quickly talking about Linux and GNOME, and this is amazing news. GNOME just received €1 million from the Sovereign Tech Fund to enhance tools, accessibility, and public benefit features. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. I mean, if you're a fan of GNOME, this is awesome news. And if you're a fan of open source stuff, again, this is pretty awesome news. And last up here, we're talking about AYANEO. I definitely didn't accidentally call this AYN. And they just unveiled their remake concept. They say here they're no longer content with paying homage solely through color schemes. They aspire to build an entirely new product line that comprehensively showcases retro culture. They go on to showcase a whole bunch of different products, including the AYANEO Slide, which I think we've talked about in a few different videos. There's also the AYANEO Flip KB and AYANEO Flip DS. And there's also a mini PC styled like a Mac. They're calling this one the AM01, and we can see on the top here we've got about 4 USB ports, an Ethernet jack, a couple of display ports, and also their power. There's also the AM02, which when standing like this doesn't look like an NES, but when laying down kind of does. And lastly here they've got the Pocket DMG, which I think is going to give a lot of different retro handhelds a run for their money. This is styled obviously like a Game Boy. Unfortunately at this time I don't have tech specs, pricing, or release dates just yet, but this stuff to me is incredibly interesting. Let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like, hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos, don't tempt fate, save your state.